Your OSL looks like cheese, part 2. Part 1 was the Foundry visit, and this time we're painting the Artillery Witch from Trench Crusade. The focus of this video is the OSL painting, and we'll start with speed paints and then build up the layering with Warpaint's Fanatics. I don't always produce good OSL painting, but in this video I'll tell you what I think makes good OSL. Hi, I'm Don, welcome to my channel. This channel is supported by all these awesome brands. Also, special thanks to The Army Painter for making this video possible. Oh, do check out my discount codes and affiliate links below. We start with a Zenithal-ish underpainting. I started with black and then gray primer and then of course matte white. I airbrushed the underpainting with my Gallery Swallowtail airbrush. I thinned down the paints 1:1 with Warpaint's retarder. Oh, by the way, pardon for my voice, I haven't been feeling well for the past couple of days. I feel well enough to paint though, but the voice, I know it sounds bad. As usual, we start with speed paints. I love speed paints. It's very carefree and low focus. You don't have to be meticulous with the painting with speed paints, especially in this miniature, because we're focused on the painting of the OSL, and we'll do that with basic layering later. To get a good finish with speed paints, paint fast, use a big brush, load it with enough paints, and also paint in sections. You see in the video right now that I'm allowing a little bit of pulling with speed paint so that I create more contrast. Now I let this dry for about 10 minutes and we'll apply a second round of speed paints. Now for the second round of speed paints, I thinned down the speed paint 1:1 with speed paint medium. The speed paint medium will add transparency to the speed paint and also make the drying time slower. This makes the speed paint softer. The slower drying time and the softer speed paint would allow for smoother transitions and you won't produce coffee stains. Now we're using dusk red for the base so that we create color contrast with the actual miniature. I did not thin this speed paint, and only applied it once on the base. Notice that I allowed more pulling on the painting of the base to create more contrast. The next speed paint that we're using is also from the John Blanche set. It's the Blood Moon Red. This red speed paint it has the perfect balance between very good saturation and contrast. I used this speed paint unthinned straight from the bottle and it's just lays down nicely on the miniature. Although Blood Moon Red looks really nice, in hindsight, since our focus is the painting of the OSL, you could use Poppy Red, which is a brighter, more vibrant red color. Now we have a good foundation for our Artillery Witch. Now we have a good foundation for our Artillery Witch. Now we use Occultist Cloak. Occultist Cloak is a bluish purple gray color, which will complement our OSL painting later. You may also use Gravelord Grey, although Gravelord Grey is a little bit more neutral and it will look reddish gray on top of Blood Moon Red. Now if you find value out of this video, do give this video a thumbs up and consider subscribing to my channel. Now we paint the OSL. This is the most fun part of the painting of this miniature. We start with Fiery Vermilion from the John Blanche set. Fiery Vermilion is an orange-red color and has very good saturation. This is one of the nicest reds from the Army Painter. I'm basically using Fiery Vermilion to create more separation between the artillery and the flame sculpts. Fiery Vermilion having a good saturation has also good coverage, so a couple of thin coats will give you a full coverage. Now we're basically doing like layering, basic layering. Now we start with Basilisk Red for the OSL effect or the fall off, the light fall off from the OSL. I highly recommend you watch part 1 of this video, which is the actual visit or tour of a foundry by our friend Sydney Ang. It's a very nice video. Well, not really nice video, but it's not a painting video, but it will show you footages or videos of the foundry, which shows a lot of OSL. I must admit that it was a challenge for me to film the OSL in the Foundry because I had to like adjust the settings of the camera to capture the OSL because it's very hot, it's very bright, there's too much contrast, but I did my best or I tried my best, and if you watch the video, it will be such a visual experience. Although it's more like it's a better experience if you see it in person. Now, if you want like a faster painting with OSL, of course, you could use the same colors that I show here and use your dry brush. You could also use your airbrush if you have good airbrush control. But in my opinion, you get the most control with the brush, and you get really nice layering by painting smaller and smaller areas as the colors get lighter. Thus, you will produce the glowing effect that you want when painting OSL. It's important to note though that I'm not blending as I shift to another color. It's a matter of just sketching or layering with these colors and ignore blending. I'm not a fan of like layering and then blending, layering and then blending, layering and, and blending. So it's like it's not as efficient if you do that. I prefer you sketch and layer before you do blending later. Like I said earlier, your focus here is to paint smaller and smaller areas as the colors get lighter. In this way, you create that glow effect. Also, try to paint some textures, some swirls and stuff so that you create motion with your painting. Now, our last color is Moonbeam Yellow. This is also from the John Blanche collection. Moonbeam Yellow is very saturated. I think, if I'm not wrong, this is the most saturated yellow from the Army Painter Warpaint's Fanatic paints. If you don't have this paint, Demonic Yellow is also a good option. Now I think you can call this done. This is a little more than tabletop standard, but we'll refine the painting a little bit more. Once you're happy with your painting, you may now seal this with a quick coat of matte varnish. A quick coat of matte varnish should protect your painting before we do a little bit or quick blending of the flame painting. Now we do quick blending with fluorescent paints, but first we paint white paint over the hottest part of the flame. You may also use ice yellow before you paint matte white if you really want really nice blending. But since we plan to blend with fluorescent paints, so that means you don't need to paint ice yellow before painting white. Once you're happy with your hot spots or the painting of white areas on your flame, we could now do some blending with fluorescent paints. We start with Lens Flare Glow. Fluorescent paints are translucent paints, so you don't really have to thin them for glazing. Although fluorescent paints are translucent, try to use them just for blending. Don't overuse them or don't overdo the application on the painting of your OSL. Now we're using Radiation Glow, which is an orange fluorescent color. I'm using this in the areas between the yellows and the oranges. A couple of layers or 3 layers at most are more than enough to blend your layering. You may also do glazing with thinned down speed paints, but in my opinion, the easiest would be blending or glazing with fluorescent paints, especially for OSL painting. Now, before my final thoughts, a huge thanks to all my patrons at Patreon, Hajime Model Studio, and of course, the Army Painter for making this video possible. After a few more finishing touches, a few more detailing highlights, especially on the armor of the artillery witch, I am pretty happy with the result. I hope you saw in this video that painting OSL or OSL effects can be done with as simple as basic layering. It's a matter of selecting the proper color so that your OSL does not look like cheese. Or your OSL will have that glowing effect. Of course, blending will help with that glowing effect that you want with your OSL painting. But the choice of colors is more important. As usual, techniques, methods, or even tools are all secondary to good color selection. That's it, Pansit. I hope you like this video. Do like, comment, subscribe, and all that stuff. Until next video, guys. Bye!